Donald Trump, since he was elected in November of 2020, has amassed a greater fortune. He has stolen more than every other president put together in the entire history by a factor of 10 times or whatever it is. The corruption that we're seeing right in front of us is literally breathtaking, and it's happening in the middle of some of the greatest inequality that we've seen ever in this country.
Hey, here are our listener questions, and man, I tell you, they get better every week, and it's so hard to know which ones not to do. We'll try to get to them next week. Margie in Colorado Springs, Colorado, James, says, of all the crazy stuff the Trump people are doing, I hope RFK Jr.'s gutting of the panel of vaccine advisors does not go unnoticed. Other than contacting Congress, what can we do?
Okay, so first of all, kudos to Colorado Springs. I've been there a number of times. It's a great, great city, great, that Air Force Academy's there. It's a place called Broadmoor, kind of famous on the hot air circuit, but great, great city, great part of the world. So when it comes to vaccines, you understand, this is the greatest thing that has ever happened in the entire history of public health. It is almost impossible to talk about the number of lives this has saved, the number of grief it's caused. The second thing is, as we like to say on this show, and political people say, it's a large sample size. Okay? We have a really large sample size. And like I say, it's the greatest public health intervention in the history of the world. And then we turn our back on that. I mean, it's so idiotic. It's so immoral. It's so out of it. This is settled medicine. Totally settled. You gonna stop giving people smallpox vaccines? Remember you and I, polio?
Oh my
Remember
gosh.
when we were kids and your dad was a pediatrician? Remember you couldn't go out?
Right.
You had to stay in. They were mortified. Everybody knew someone that had polio. You had Dr. Jonas Salk, who maybe the greatest quote in human history, when they asked him if he was going to patent a polio vaccine. And you know what he said? That would be like patenting sunshine. Yeah. Could you imagine anybody in this world today, or particularly in that administration, to have something that has saved that many lives, that many people from having severe physical handicap? It pisses me off beyond pisses me off.
James, do you think that do you think that Trump and RFK would consider Jonas Salk a sucker?
Of course he would. Of course he would consider him a sucker. What kind of guy would do that?
Yeah, not make money off it? God damn.
Oh,
A Catherine in Williamsport, Maryland, says, who would be the most appropriate person to approach Musk to get him to flip? I hope nobody. I mean, I really like Ro Khanna. He's been a great guest, but his talk about getting Musk to be a Democrat is insane. Musk has embraced the neo-Nazi party in Germany. He, as Bill Gates said, he was the world's richest man, and he caused the death of the world's poorest children with his PEPFAR. The Doge operation was more like a mafia. They would run into offices, clear people out, treat them with brutality. I don't want Ed Musk in the Democratic Party or anywhere near it. And I can talk about that. It's just insane.
So let's talk on for a second here too. This question we do. No, what I want to happen. There's a very, very serious national security question here. So first of all, we know that Musk with Pete Hegseth was talking to the Chinese,
right,
and very much knew what the China policy was, what the intelligence was. Now, Musk has enormous business interests in China, and just it's in the news. And remember this: he needs those rare earth materials to make his car, as do other people. We had big balls and booger puller and snot nose rummaging through the federal government, taking data. Did you know that they put a Starlink link on top of the White House to transmit all the data they had? When you're in the White House, and you know this, I know it because I've been around. We were not even allowed to go in a situation room. There's nothing in there for you that you want to see. Just stay the hell away from it. Well, did they go in there? Did they take the data? Did they transmit it on the Starlink link that was on top of the White House? All right. Not only should we not want this guy to be in a Democratic Party, it's a very, very serious national security question here. I mean, of the first order. How much does he have? And by the way, these guys, that data, they can fire him all they want. And they have pissed off him. And I think this story is long, long way from over. Long way from over.
And if Democrats take back the House, which I think they will, don't enlist Elon Musk, investigate Elon Musk.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
we got to find out.
Right.
I mean,
Patrick,
I'm saying this requires that we got to find out.
right. Patrick in Eugene, Oregon, James wants to know, why don't we start prosecuting employers who knowingly hire undocumented workers?
Yeah, that's always been the way that if you wanted to end it, you could. We have 14 million have been here for a long time. In of course, the business interests would fight that left and right. The agricultural interests would fight that left and right. But yes, if you wanted to not have any immigration of undocumented people here, most of them come here for a simple reason: they want to work.
Yeah.
They commit less crimes than anybody else, than any other group. And yes, there are some nefarious people that come through, but by and large, I've always said, if you got a 28-year-old mother with a 4-year-old or 6-year-old that walks from Guatemala to the U.S. border, I would let her in. I think she's highly motivated. I think this is the kind of citizen we can use in the United States.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, we can do all that, and we can meet Stephen Miller's quotas plus more if we want to shut down most of our construction sites and most of our restaurants and most of our hotels. They contribute an awful lot to the American economy.
And don't forget the contributions to Social Security.
Absolutely. Ken in Williamsburg, Virginia says, in Virginia, we have a Democratic primary next week. I've seen far more ads for her Republican opponent than I have for all the Democrats put together. How concerned should we be? Ken, find other issues to be concerned about. Abigail Spanberger doesn't need ads now. She will have more than enough money. And I think that whole ticket, governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and others, I think there's going to be a sweep in Virginia, all held by Republicans now. I think starting next January, all are going to be held by Democrats.
So Don Scott, who, as you know, is the Speaker of the Virginia House, I think is one of the more interesting people in all of American politics.
We had him on our show in Chicago, right?
We did. Reminds us that, remember, it's not just the gubernatorial race. Now we have the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general elected, but also the state legislatures up. There are 9 seats that Republicans currently hold in districts that Harris carried in 2024. So it is highly likely that when we watch the election returns, not only do we win the gubernatorial race, and I'm going to say it right now, we're going to win. Margin is everything. And the number, and the shock number, I'm hoping, will be the number of seats. I think they call it the House of Delegates there, but it's what you would call the state house. The pickups there, I think, are going to be impressive. And you and I have said this for a long time, and I'll repeat it. This is very important because it will affect recruiting and fundraising and Democratic morale going into 2026, which is really critical and really important.
I couldn't agree more. Mike in Leavenworth, Kansas. We have a big audience in Leavenworth, Kansas. We haven't figured out yet whether they're inside or outside, but we have a big audience, and we will take them. He says, with popular Democratic Governor Laura Kelly, term limited in 2026, should she run for the Senate? I hadn't thought about that, James.
Well, she is popular. I think she's the head of the Democratic governors now, and congrats to them, because I think they had 23 Democratic governors and put out a joint statement. about how outraged they were at the idea that you would call the National Guard, of state National Guard, out without consulting with the governor of that state. I know Governor Kelly. Let me tell you, man, that is one that she's man, she's tougher than a nickel steak. I can tell you that. And if she has, I hope she considers it. But I think that she has a real future that's ahead of her.
James, next, John in Gurnee, Illinois. I'm going to go to Gurnee one of these days because John or his neighbors are writing in every week with good questions. He says the top 1% now declared class warfare by supporting the GOP and their horrible budget. What steps should Democrats counter if they regain control? First of all, when Democrats regain control, there's going to be a lot of challenges. They have to try to undo a lot of bad things that happen. That's going to cause some dislocations. There's going to be a great temptation to try to do to Republicans what Republicans did to them. I think it's probably, for the most part, be a mistake. But whatever the challenges, whatever the difficulties, Lord knows, bring it on soon.
So, thank you. It's night before last. Larry and I were with former Governor Chris Christie in Jersey at the Panetta Institute, and we're being interviewed by Leon Panetta, probably one of the more remarkable, by the way, biographies in literally modern American political history. Leon has. So, we can stipulate that. But it was a very engaged audience, and one of the questions I got was, what do you think this era will be remembered for? And I think it's pretty clear that it'll be remembered for its corruption and its inequality. And the inequality part of it, of course, we had last week, and I urge people, if you hadn't listened to the show with Evan Osnos, that you should listen to it. And we talked about how does we unwind from this? Because we are living in an era of massive corruption. I mean, corruption like we couldn't even imagine. I'll say this, and I don't think anybody, I've tried this out on people, and no one's really serious challenged this thought. Donald Trump, since he was elected in November of 2024, has amassed a greater fortune, I use the word, what I think or believe, he has stole more than every other president put together in the entire history by a factor of 10 times or whatever it is. All right. The corruption that we're seeing right in front of us is literally breathtaking, and it's happening in the middle of some of the greatest inequality that we've seen ever in this country. And this is going to end, and I'm not sure it's going to end in a pretty way.
I'm afraid you're right, James, but it's absolutely, that dichotomy is just extraordinary. Finally, Bobby in New York City.
All right, Big Bad Kitty from New York City.
We have not gotten a lot of New York City
my questions. So,
Bobby, thank you. Welcome. Come back. Tell your friends and neighbors about us. Yeah. He said he's a listener, James, because in the last episode, you kept talking about how the Democrats need to keep pushing the narrative about budget cuts to veterans. What is he referring to, and who will do it?
Well, it's very hard. And this goes back, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, outrage. They don't want you to think about that. So we had the whole veterans thing. We had everything lined up. Of course, he sees this coming, and he literally invades the second largest city in America.
Right.
And at some point, I know it's hard because you got an editor, you got soldiers, you got Marines, you got people on the street, you got all of this. It's being hawked on right-wing media day in and day out. Of course, the right-wing media shit about veterans. All right,
they're suckers, James. They're suckers.
Right. And this is the great political challenge of our time. Is how. And again, I go back to Chris Murphy, who I give enormous credit to. How do we not get distracted? Because it's just when you get more outraged about something else, he just shoves a stack to the middle of the table and outrages you more. And this is primitive survival. It's not thought out. It's not smart. He's not clever. The only thing he knows that when he gets in deep trouble, he pulls another stunt to deflect it. But the stuff that's going on with the veterans, what's going on with veteran suicide, let me repeat again, 17.6 veteran suicide a day. More veterans will commit suicide today than people will get killed or even injured in this stuff that's currently going on in Los Angeles. So the good question, it's the hardest strategic challenge I think that we've ever been faced with is how do you not get distracted by this outrageous behavior?